Even when using a normal build, the tether mode of the Ferrox makes a decent piece of tech on its own. You can throw it in front of you, and it will group enemies together and mostly keep them from reaching you by walking. It's good against infested and whatever melee units you encounter by itself. But there is another, much darker side to the Ferrox tether mode. Suggested by Darthmufin, this darker side of the Ferrox tether creates a field of death. Any enemies caught inside will be procced with gas repeatedly, with enhanced duration, and tick toward their demise. So today I'm going to demonstrate those two different pieces of tech that the Ferrox can become, talk about where they might be useful, and ask you all to tell me what you think about them too. As I mentioned before, here is a normal build for the Ferrox. Now the two pieces of tech we're looking at today are specifically the non-damaging throw for the Ferrox and the damaging throw for the Ferrox. But if you're going to use a non-damaging throw, you might as well build the normal shots of the Ferrox to do like actual damage. So here's my crit-based build. I decided to go for mostly crits and primed cryo rounds instead of like maybe corrosive and only one crit mod. That's just what I prefer. I feel like this weapon is so able to kill things reliably in one shot once you have Archon Scope up, that I would rather just mod it to deal a ton of specific damage and not be very good at follow-up shots, which, as you can see, it does quite handily. You can use the undamaging tether to do all sorts of fun stuff. The example I'm going to give you is Rhino's Ironclad Charge. Loadout video forthcoming. Rhino's Ironclad Charge augment gives you bonus armor for a limited time based on how many enemies you hit with Rhino's Charge. It can be difficult to hit lots of enemies at once, but not if you have the Ferrox. Its undamaging tether mode, you can simply put down somewhere, and then it will group enemies tightly together for you to execute a perfect Rhino Ironclad Charge against, and boost your armor to insane values. I'd enjoy hearing in the comments if you have other ideas for what the undamaging tether mode of the Ferrox can be useful for. But keep in mind that it's not particularly useful on Nidus, despite seeming like it would be helpful to stack up Virulence, because Nidus's larva ability already does basically the same thing. You're looking for a Warframe that wants enemies to be tightly packed together for some reason, but does not have the ability to do so already. Now, as for the other mode, as I said, this was pioneered by Darthmufin. You should go check out his channel, and I'll leave his video on this mode as a suggested video above and in the description. Darthmuffin's idea is to use the Ferrox's ticks of damage while it is in tether mode to damage enemies with gas damage. So by running 2 gas damage dual stat mods, an infected clip, because remember gas damage is DOT, damage over time effect, will tick based on the weapon's toxin damage, not its total gas damage. So putting on Hellfire here instead of infected clip will result in less damage from your gas ticks. And then Continuous Misery. The enemies will be held in place for a long time, so it's okay if the damage is done slowly. Continuous Misery is effectively doubling the damage that your gas procs deal. You just have to wait a long time for it to be dealt, but the enemies can't move, so that's okay. Darthmufin also found out that fire rate increases the speed at which ticks happen from the tether mode, and I was not able to see a difference with Split Chamber, so I've left it off, but if that's wrong, Darthmufin or anybody else, please let me know from your testing. And Heavy Caliber will increase the damage by a sick amount, but it renders the main fire almost useless. Let's just demonstrate a little... oh, I didn't even see where that last one went. Although this renders the main fire completely useless, the alternate fire becomes intensely powerful, able to devastate large groups of enemies very quickly. Remember that since you're proccing gas, this is more effective the more enemies you catch in the tether. So try to get enemies all grouped together first instead of just grabbing a few, because it will kill them much faster that way. For each enemy, you'll get 1 more gas proc, which will make all of the others inside of the tether take more damage over time, which as you can see results in very quick time to kill, even with only a few enemies stuck inside. I think it's a lot easier to imagine how the killer tether Ferrox build would be useful as a piece of tech. You can put it somewhere that you want to cover or zone control, and then focus on other areas of the map with other guns, while you know that an area is mostly under control. In the following example, I'm going to use this Ferrox killer tether mode. Now I know that I'm covered from this direction, and I can focus on enemies from elsewhere, if there even are any, and pick them off with my Aklex Prime. So it's pretty effective as a multitasking tool. I really do think that this is quite effective if you actually think about how you can use it. It's good on interception missions, especially if you're trying to solo them, etc. But if you can think of any particularly cool synergies for this, I would love to hear about them as well. Saren herself is the one that I will offer you for now. Saren's passive increases the duration of status effects, so we get even more benefit out of our continuous misery doubling that status duration, because Saren increases it even further. Now, although this damaging Ferrox tether build allows you to multitask, I still think that using it as an efficient gun that also has the ability to group enemies together and do some zone control but not kill the enemies itself is perhaps a better application overall, but it's not as interesting. And it is true that if you're very creative with your placement using this killing tether build, you could probably get a lot of mileage out of it. As I've said a few times in this video already, suggest me in the comments epic applications for the different Ferrox tether modes, and perhaps I will shamelessly steal one of them and turn it into a loadout video or some other type of content. Thank you all very much for watching, hope you enjoyed, see you next time.